Hello my friends and welcome back to Italy, a place to love YouTube channel. So in today's video I want to talk, guys, my friends, ladies and gentlemen, about my rules when I want to buy a property, when I want to purchase a property. Now, I don't deny, I'm not hiding that I always have to make money, so that I always have to be in plus, that I always have to make profit. So I'm always very careful about where I'm investing to not have a loss, because that's the main goal. I'm talking now about an investment. I'm not talking about a property where to live, because it's very important to understand that these two things are completely different. So there is the concept where I need to buy a house because I need to live in this house. So it's gonna be my primary property, the place, my nest, the place where I'm gonna spend time with my family. So that is one thing, and I'm not gonna touch this topic today, because the priority when you need to buy a property for yourself, where to live, are a sort of priorities, while when you need to invest, investment means already that you have to make some profits. So here I'm only talking about how to make profit, and I'm gonna explain you my rules when I'm looking for a property to buy to make profit. Okay, after this short introduction, let me start explaining the three rules. Okay, so very important. So first of all, the first rule is I have to spend as less as I can. Okay, so I will never go. What does it mean that I'm going to spend as less as I can? That I never have to overpay for a property. I mean, this is a very simple concept. So I'm focusing on, okay, I might have a budget, but again, then I have to study the house market in this area, in that area. Not all the house market is the same in the world. So in the United States you have a certain house market. In Italy, let's talk about Italy. Obviously Italy doesn't have all the same market, house market. The prices in some places might be very high. So and let's start investigating. So the first rule anyway is to spend as less as I can. I'm even gonna write here, because it's always helping me when I write, to spend as less as I can. And we'll find out what does it mean properly to spend as less as I can. Now, let me give you an example. Let me say that I have a budget of 50,000 euro, 50k, cash buyer, okay? So I'm buying properties cash. I'm not going to knock the door to the banks, because technically we can go to the bank, that's not a problem, but it depends, because obviously here we are always thinking about how to make profit, okay? So, and I'm gonna explain you step by step the way I've been purchasing houses during the years. So again, I'm spending as less as I can, and I decide that my budget is 50k, 50,000 euro. Perfect. And this is the first rule: spend as less as I can. I think I repeated that already many times. So let's go to the second step now. So I'm constantly repeating, no renovation works. I'm totally against renovation work, and I explain you why. So if I have, but I mean, it's not difficult to explain why I'm against renovation works. So mainly because renovations means that I have to spend other money, extra money on top of what I'm already planning to spend. So, for example, if my budget is 50,000 and then I find a house for 25, means that technically I can spend another 25 for the renovations. But because renovation works, then you have to wait time. So no, my philosophy, my rules say, listen, there's plenty of houses out there that are already in a good condition. So if there are tons of houses, of flats, of properties that are already in a good condition, ready to live, keys in hands. Why should I go? I'm talking about making profit. Don't forget that here the goal of this video is to show you that here the goal is to make profit. Then if we are not interested in making profit, that is another story. We go back to the concept that we are buying the house that we want to live. That's another story. So don't mix up the things, okay? Because here I only want to be driven by the fact that it's an investment. Okay, so there's so many houses, properties on sale that are not in need of renovation. Perfectly, perfect. I go and I buy one of these property. I said that my budget is 50,000, 50K. Then I find a property that the price is 50,000. Then I'm gonna play even harder. We are allowed to play harder in this life. We live in a capitalistic world, so money is ruling. Technically, there's nothing to be shy by saying this. We are not living in a communist system. So what I mean is, I check a certain amount of properties. Let me say I find 4 properties in the same area, no renovation, and they all cost 50,000 euro. Okay, perfect. Then I might find, because I'm not interested to find a property that I love to live, but is an investment. Okay, then I'm focused to spend even less than 50,000. That's another goal that I put in my mind. Okay, I might find 2 buyers who are saying, no, I'm not gonna sell for less than 50K, that's the price, because I can make my offer. But then I find the seller, who is in need of money. Okay, so basically there are plenty of people who are in need of money. So basically then I go for the one who is taking my offer. For example, I'm gonna offer 40K for a property. Then let's say that the final price in the end is gonna be 45K. We agree. So I already saved 5,000 euro. Then I might decide to put this extra 5,000 euro that I saved in doing some little works in the house. Let me say, this can be another option. So my total budget is always 50K. Now, here we enter in the most important rule, one of these 3 rules of my philosophy. That is, now let me say, first of all, I have to have a return by letting this property, okay? So, what I want to say, I'm looking for, so I need to rent it out, this property. Now, how much it will be my return in a year if I'm gonna rent this property? Okay. So let me say that I'm going to buy something in a touristic area, for example, and I decided to rent this property in a very touristic area. So then I will study the market in this area. I'll see how much is gonna be rented out monthly, this apartment. Let's talk about a B&B or guest house, something like that. So potentially, the property that I'm going to buy, because I'm studying the subject, uh, I'm gonna exaggerate a bit simply to make the count a bit easier, okay? Now, let me say that this property that I'm going to buy gives me the return of 10k, 10,000 euro a year. Now, potentially in Italy, there are locations, okay, that are giving you this kind of return when you are letting this property. I'm going to 10k at the moment. My calculation, for example, if I want to be honest, if I don't want to exaggerate with the prices, could be 8k, between 7k and 8k. I'm talking, for example, I can even give you a geographical area where there are these type of returns. Let's talk about Apulia region. Apulia region, for example, I don't know much about Sicily, but if I'm talking about Campania region, if I'm talking about, I don't know much about Calabria, but Apulia, if we go in Salento area, for example, now I'm mentioning about Salento, let me say I can have 10k a year back after renting out this property. Perfect. So then the next calculation, I'm getting 10k a year back. Then my next question, there is a question, and my question is, how long is gonna take to pay back my investment, okay, by letting this property? Now, if I make an easy calculation, sorry, if I make an easy calculation, so if I'm letting this property for 10k a year, to pay back my investment, 50k, it's gonna take 5 years, okay? In 5 years, I paid back my investment. Okay, now here I'm gonna tell you my, I open in brackets another little topic. Okay, so when I consider a good investment, an average investment, and a bad investment, focus on these 3 rules, okay? So if I'm letting a property and to pay back my investment, follow me, and to pay back my investment, it's gonna take me between 5 and 8 years, okay? Between 5 and 8 years that I pay back my investment, thumbs up. That is the perfect investment. I would go for it. So for any property that I'm pretty sure that I'm gonna pay back my investment between 5 and 8 years, that is the perfect investment. Because timing is the most important thing when we do an investment. And we are talking about an amount of 50k, 50,000 euro. Okay, so I've done my calculation. For example, before I told you I spend 50, I get 10 years back every year. I pay back my investment in 5 years. Perfect. So it means it's a very good investment. Then my calculation says that if I buy a property and I'm letting this property and I pay back my investment between 8 and 13 years, it's an average investment. I mean, what does it mean average? It's not very successful, okay, but it's not very bad. So I'm taking some time that it goes between 8 and 13 years. Let me say, time is passing by, I've done my investment, I didn't want to keep the money in the bank, I decided to buy a property. perfect. So between 8 and 13 years, I can consider, I will never go personally. Personally, Antonio will never go for 8. But, for example, things might change while we bought the property. For example, if something happens, if the stock market crashes, and then I have to drop the prices. I mean, but technically, anyway, it's something that we can start from 8 to 13. Obviously, if I find the property, if I find the opportunity between 5 and 8, I go for 5 and 8. I mean, I'd rather get my money back the earlier as possible. Why should I go? And I'm not talking about feelings, because if we put the feelings, for me, in investments, we are ruined. So, totally ruined. But this is my philosophy. And then, okay, there is another, the third option, that to pay back my investment is gonna take more than 13 years. Now, this calculation, everyone who had made an investment can do this calculation. Everyone. And believe me, it's a very simple, there's nothing complex behind this calculation. There's nothing difficult behind this calculation. I just said 5 to 8, and you see, you let this property for the last 10 years, how much money you got back, how much was your investment, and then you see the difference. I mean, it's a very easy. Then, if you didn't understand, rewatch it, because I have explained very well. So if to pay back my investment it takes more than 13 years, thumbs down, that investment will never and ever seize me. Never. So, and then I want to bring you to the very last, after giving you this picture, okay, about Antonio philosophy, that is not only, probably it's not only my philosophy. Anyone who is a bit into the investments is doing this type of calculations. But now, the last thing I want to say is this one. Now, I spent 50K. Then, okay, there's all, we can always put the taxes, okay? I don't want to avoid to mention the taxes, because we all have to pay taxes, and then the taxes might add 1 year or 2 years of our or 2 years of our investment. For example, the total return deducted the taxes, instead of 5 years, it's gonna take me 6 years and a half. So, means that with all the taxes that I'm paying to pay back my investment, instead of 5, it's gonna take me 6.5. So obviously you always have to add something, but again, we are in between the 5 and 8 years. But what's the main goal, the final result here? If I'm buying a property for 50K, and I repeat it so many times, and forget about the taxes for now, let's not think about the taxes, then in 5 years I take my money back. So practically it's like I got this property for free. The concept is that after 5 years that I bought this property, and after 5 years by letting this property, I got 50,000 euro back. It means that this property after 5 years cost me 0. Practically, I got the money back. I got all the money that I invested, I got it back. And then there is a plus, the big plus, and that's where you make money in your pocket. Then you might decide to keep this property, and for example, for another 5 years, you might decide, for example, to make another 50,000. So you have 50 plus 50, in 10 years you have done 100,000 euro. So you are in pure profit, okay? But once you paid your property, you might say, okay, you know what? I'm gonna sell this property. And that is the moment that you really make the profit, okay? Then, for example, if the property market doubled, And there are cases, guys, I have experienced personally that after 5, 6, 7 years, the market doubled. Okay, and that's what happened. So basically, I pay back my property by letting this property. After 6 years, 7 years, I resell it for 100,000 euro, this property. This 100,000 euro that I'm selling the property is pure profit. Who won't be happy with this calculation? Find me one person that wouldn't be happy to follow this scheme that is actually the scheme that I'm following for the last 20 years and each time gave me very good results. Obviously, in the next video, I'm gonna cover, one more topic, because now, for example, I told you I bought for 50, I resold it for 100, I doubled, so I was expecting the house market to go up. But technically then we have to study now, for example, and this is gonna be the next video, I want to focus on if the house market can still going up or can go down. For example, if there's gonna be a crash or will still booming. Let me say, these are the two things that we have to follow. But last thing, I bought for 50, I resell for 100, I double, market boom, I'm making profit. After 5 years, the house market stays stable, I resell it for 50,000, I didn't lose any money. I paid back my property and I'm making 50,000 euro profit. What else? If I see that the house market went down, so that the prices and also my return, my yearly return is dropping. For example, I cannot rent because there was a crash and I cannot rent anymore for 10k a year, but I'm gonna rent for 5k a year. Anyway, I already repaid back my property, I don't need to sell, I'm not losing anything. I hope I've been clear. I always wanted to make this video, okay? Now, I hope you're gonna take it as simply as a video where I'm sharing my understanding of making money with properties, okay? But again, we are all different, always, and we all have different goals, we all set our standards, we don't have all the same structure of the mind, so we might like different things. I'm only sharing in this video my understanding of making profit with properties. Again, if the property market double, then you double, you make, in front of an investment of 50k, if after 5 years I paid back my property for 50k by letting, and then I make another 100,000 euro. So 100,000 euro, then I do another calculation. 100,000 euro, it means if I divide it by 5, is 20,000 euro a year. Now, if I'm making 20,000 euro a year, for example, but I'm not making this money every year, I only see the result at the very end. So it's like I was making 20,000 euro a year. Okay, so for example, I wasn't working, I wasn't getting any income for the last 5 years, but then after 5 years I'm gonna have this lump of money of 100,000 euro. I divided by 5, that was the 5 years that I was investing, the letting income that was going just to pay back my investment, so I didn't spend any money. Tell me, who can give you such an advice nowadays? It's not easy to create this structure, because this is a structure that is important to create, but if you are, let me say, a person that is ready to do this type of investments, then of course I said that I can even go for 8 to 13 years, I can even think about buying a property and give it to an agent, that is gonna let the property, so then my return would be a bit lower. Anyway, there are so many things to consider, but I just wanted to give you a quick picture of what is for Antonio an investment when buying a property. Okay, my friends, so I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you to my next video. Let me know in the comments what do you think about Antonio philosophy. Okay, it's not only my philosophy, but I like to call it Antonio philosophy. Okay, I'll see you to my next video from Italy, a Place to Love YouTube channel. Bye!